Welcome to all our viewers around the world. Each time we'll be bringing you inspiring and compelling profiles. Each and every story you tell gets us closer to people who have the power to bring in change and make a difference. We'll be bringing you the full story behind the names. Today we have one of our special guests climbing the diplomatic career actually, from the rank of diplomatic attaché, now being one of Egypt's most famous ambassadors. Ambassador Fathy Shazly. We'll kickstart right now.
A diplomat and a researcher, long years of service to his country at home and abroad. He's posted in Saudi Arabia and as such boosting bilateral ties and taking it to new heights, playing a major role in the mining lands of the northern coast.
Ambassador Fathy Shazly, I'd like to start my questions by asking you about those moments and those times that you felt there were moments of success in your life.
I believe that the tenure I had as ambassador of Egypt to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was probably the most interesting. If I go through it, I would be able to answer your queries better, because in fact I was the first official outside Egypt to introduce the notion of taking care of Egyptian expatriates through a comprehensive...
What a huge community of Egyptians there.
Yes, then we had more than 2 million Egyptians living in Saudi Arabia. And
they had arrangements and...
they had no organization, no non-governmental organization to take care, to organize, to address the issues, pressing issues that unfortunately remain to be felt until now, such as the sponsor, Al-Kafil, the issue of Al-Kafil. I was the one who tried to address that, but
it's
unfortunately I discovered
for many people. It is a major problem.
It is a major problem, and I tried to address it. This has been one of the features, very well established. I would say that it was a kind of one of the procedures, obviously catering for the security of the country. Saudi Arabia is a big country, more than 2 million square kilometers, relatively scarce population at that time, about 8, 9 million people, very huge foreign labor force. So they introduced this system of sponsor or kafil in order to share the responsibility of the national security between the state and the people. So those who would employ foreigners would also feel responsibility for the behavior of their employees. So that was a very problematic issue, and most of the time the
This is why your position there was a strategic one.
Yes, I have always considered Egypt and Saudi Arabia two strategic partners. In fact, if we talk about the so-called Arab national security, I would say that Egypt and Saudi Arabia are the two pillars of that national security, or so-called Arab national security.
As we were just saying, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, they are both capable to kickstart a whole Arab entity.
It is not only that, but if we talk for now, we have other challenges and even threats to the national security of both countries and beyond.
The whole region.
For instance, if we talk about doctrinal rivalry between Muslims and Muslims, especially after the emergence of or the awareness by normal innocent Muslims of doctrinal changes and doctrinal differences. In Egypt, for instance, I noticed that there is a growing number of Egyptians converting to Shia doctrine lately. And there was an influx of Iraqis, for instance, coming to Egypt and mainly settling in the 6th of October city. And many of them are Shia. This was not known decades ago. So Saudi Arabia and Egypt are very important managers, I would say.
I've never heard of that before.
Exactly. This is one of the new phenomenal changes that have been taking place in the region, and especially in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. This doctrinal awareness. Actually, during my diplomatic career, when interacting with diplomats, especially from a Sham region, from Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, etc., I knew that some of my friends could have been Shia or even Druze. But it did not occur to me, not only once, to ask them about their doctrinal affiliation. We were friends, we were even brothers, we were behaving as Arabs, addressing threats to the Arab national security, promoting the causes common to all Arabs, and in particular the Palestinian cause, collaborating in this issue without paying the least of attention to the doctrine of each other. But now this is unfortunately a very present issue.
Okay, in fact, that was a landmark in your life. We'll jump to another landmark you consider a huge achievement in your life.
This, I mentioned the issue of empowering Egyptian nationals abroad. That was one of the things I'm proud of. And also acting on the so-called numerical indicators of the bilateral relations between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. I would say that at the end of my tenure in Saudi Arabia,
I think many of our viewers will need some data here.
Probably, some of them, I mean, some of my compatriots who have been living in Saudi Arabia during my stay there, I know some of them are still there. And I'm happy that my presence as ambassador was felt by a great number of Egyptians living in Saudi Arabia at that time, because I created what was labeled as the Egyptian Cultural Center in Riyadh, which was absolutely a personal achievement. And I benefited also during that, and apropos of that, of the existence of a great number of Egyptian intellectuals and very highly qualified professionals among Egyptian nationals living in Riyadh. So, and also I benefited of the presence in Riyadh occasionally of high caliber visitors from Egypt. I knew, for instance, that Doctora Bint al-Shati was coming to pay a private visit. So I called her in advance, and she agreed. She gave a great lecture and interacted with our nationals in Riyadh and with the Saudis also. Farouk Elbaz, for instance, was coming on a private business. I called him in advance, and we had him give a great speech and presentation in the so-called cultural center, and his presentation was very important, to the extent that it was the following day I was approached by the Royal Palace to send them a copy of what he said. He was commenting on the subsidy given then by the state for growing wheat, and as a result of the explanations and comments of Dr. Elbaz, that subsidy was discontinued later on. So I would say that the creation of that center, virtual center actually, because I used to host the events at the embassy. I acted as a moderator, and I was trying to issue what was given there as lectures and contributions in a book that I attempted to call it the Annals of the Egyptian Culture Center in Riyadh. But unfortunately, I was not able to have that materialized into a concrete, I would say, publication.
Another landmark in your career, what would it be?
I tell you frankly, when a professional diplomat comes to the point of being ambassador, he should, theoretically speaking, be able to benefit of all the lessons learned during the career. I spent more than 38 years in total in the diplomatic service of Egypt. I would say that the last 10 years I was ambassador, and in between my two ambassadorial assignments I was assistant foreign minister. I claim also that I was trying to...
What was your highest position in the Foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs? What was your highest
I was assistant foreign minister for European affairs, and I was the longest serving assistant foreign minister for European affairs. I worked then more than 4 years in that capacity, and coincidentally I launched the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership, or the Egypto-European